Welcome everyone, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to this Euresys Vision Talk. Today we talk about Open eVision. I am Mark, your host as usual. Thank you very much, Sandrine, for organizing this presentation. We will focus today's talk on Open eVision 2410. We'll have presentations by Christophe, who is our vision software team leader, and we'll have a demonstration by Yannick, who is one of our software developers. We are using, as usual, the WebEx platform for this webinar, and we welcome your questions. During the presentation, please use the Q&A function to ask questions. You have to type your questions. There's a Q&A button at the bottom right of the display. We will answer all your questions during the presentation or later at the end of the presentation, or we will get back to you if you ask very difficult questions and we don't have the answer. So today's agenda is super simple. We talk about the new Open eVision Studio. So without further ado, let's jump in and start with a quick introduction. Christophe, it's up to you.
This is Open eVision Studio, and for many years, the best way to discover and test Open eVision. With Open eVision Studio, you can experiment with individual tools proposed in the Open eVision libraries, like a data matrix code reader, a pattern matcher, or a measurement tool. The application displays comprehensive configuration panels for all tools. All parameters you can find in the API are exposed. However, Open eVision Studio does not allow to design a processing pipeline, a sequence of tools designed to perform more complex tasks. That's why we are happy to introduce the new Open eVision Studio. The purpose of this new application is still to experiment and evaluate Open eVision. But now you can create sequences of tools. By editing a graph, you can design complex processing pipelines. Regions of interest and arbitrary regions are fully supported and could be combined. The various data types supported by Open eVision can be used, including point clouds and other 3D representations. The new studio implements useful features like unlimited undo and redo and flexible workspace management. You can arrange your windows and panels to get a very productive environment and even use multiple screens. The new studio can use a live images source, like cameras or recorded sequences, and the processing time of each tool is displayed. The code generation window accurately shows how to use Open eVision API. It is updated dynamically to reflect the current processing pipelines and tool configurations. It's a live documentation for C++, C#, and Python languages, and we think a very comprehensive way to learn Open eVision. A sample catalog presents a set of projects packaged with sample images. It's a nice way to discover the Open eVision feature and a good starting point to design your own projects. The new Open eVision Studio application is present in Open eVision 24.10 as a preview with a limited set of tools. This application runs on Windows and Linux and is free of charge. No license required to use all the features.
We reached the end of the first demonstration. Thank you, Christophe. I'm actually really impressed by the new studio. It really looks cool. I know that our sales managers, the FAEs, distributors, resellers, always use Open eVision Studio to demonstrate the capabilities of our Open eVision library. That will be very useful to them. In addition, our customers, developers, system integrators, machine makers also use Studio to experiment with the Open eVision functions, learn how to use them, and eventually develop applications. So that was a nice introduction, but we want to know much more. So we have asked main developer, Yannick, to prepare simple demonstrations to illustrate the major features of the new Open eVision Studio. The first demonstration will focus on a simple sequence of functions. It will also show other basic functionality of Studio. So Yannick, it's up to you for the first demonstration.
In this demo, we are going to create a very simple sequence to read matrix codes in an image. So in order to do that, we are going to use the tool catalog here that lists all the tools in the application. I will need an image file tool, a matrix code reader here, and I will need a region editor here. So a tool is a little box here with inputs and outputs. Inputs on the left, outputs on the right. So basically, the inputs are processed by the box and produce outputs. Okay, so basically what we want to do now is to connect the output of the image we are going to load here to the input of the matrix code reader. And as you can see, Open eVision, the new Open eVision Studio application refreshes the graph every time we make an action. So we are going to load an image here, this one. And as you can see, as soon as we have new data here, the new Open eVision Studio application propagates the new information through the ports, through the links, through the inputs, and we can see that the matrix code is read. If we want the 4 of them, I simply increase here the count of matrix codes. I want to go a little bit further and use a region. So to do so, I will connect the region my region editor to the input of the matrix code here. We can see 2 things here. First, the new Open eVision Studio refreshes the graph to display a graph that is easy to read and easy to understand. And we have a little red box here that is a log. That means that the matrix code tries to communicate with the user to say that the region that are given and as an input are empty. So we need to set up this. Okay. We are going to set up this, but it's better to have a reference image. So I'm going to use the same image here, like this. Okay, so in the region editor, I have a reference image to draw my regions. And I would like to keep an eye on the matrix code reader here. So I'm going to click on this, the little eye here. And what we have here, I'm going to move it here, so it's going to be more convenient. What we have here is, at the bottom, we have the setup of the region editor. And on the right here, we have the view of the matrix code reader. So we can keep an eye on what is going on the matrix code reader while working on the region editor. So what I'm going to do is draw regions here. And you can see that as soon as I put a region around a matrix code, the matrix code reader detects the matrix code. So as soon as we work on a tool, the next tools in the sequence are refreshed automatically. So it gives a great reactivity to the application. There, and we have the 4 matrix codes. Okay. What I can show you now is you can see at the bottom right of the tools we have a little number, which is the time the tool took to process the information. So it's a nice tool to compute the time a whole sequence takes as a whole. What I can show you now is the fact that if you mess around with your project and you delete things and tools, you can always undo everything. Simply use the undo feature, and you can see that no matter there are actions in the tools or in the graph, everything can be saved and restored. Talking about saving, I can save, of course, my project here using the save button. Here, project, and of course I can clear my project and reload it. Now, what I want to show is that you save not only the data but also the whole layout of the application, so it is restored as it was when it was saved. That's it.
Okay, very nice. Thank you, Yannick. So I think we understand much better already. So the concepts are very intuitive. So we have access to a catalog of tools, which of course are the same functions as what we have in the Open eVision libraries. And these tools can be arranged in a sequence, which appears on the screen as a graph. So question for you, Christophe, can we search the tool catalog?
Yes, we can search the tool catalog. You can search by name, but also by any terms any terms of the descriptions. So you can do search for cause or convert or filter. You can also browse the tool catalog by library. You know, Open eVision is divided in different libraries. And so you can just select the tool from Easy Image or Easy Object, for example.
Okay, is there a limit to the number of tools in the graph?
No, there is no strict limit to the number of tools. And you can zoom out and zoom in to really display the overview of a large graph. But of course, complex graph with many tools will take longer to execute.
Another question is, can we create graphs with loops? So, I mean, use an output of a tool as the input of the previous tool.
No, that kind of loop is not authorized. The graph must be a direct acyclic graph, so no loops.
Okay. Can I design several graphs in the same project? For example, I would like to compare different ways to solve a problem.
Yes, it's a good question. It's a good capability. So you can, on the same project, have different graphs, independent graph. They will be all evaluated in the same time. So it's a good way to compare different pipelines to solve maybe the same problem.
Okay, thank you, Christophe. I've got an additional question. It's actually a clarification about what eVision can do. So does eVision run on FPGA cards or run on CPU, GPU? Is it connected to the frame grabber?
Okay, so Open eVision run on CPU and GPU. So it's depend on the functions you use. Most of them run on CPU only, but some of them related to 3D or, of course, to deep learning could use the GPU for faster processing. And at that time, no function of Open eVision used the FPGA. So it's not related at all to the frame grabber of Euresys.
Okay, thank you, Christophe. Let's continue with a more advanced example. So back to you, Yannick, for the next demonstration.
In this demo, we are going to have a closer look at a more sophisticated sequence. So let's load the sequence. Here we are. There. So basically what we want to do is to start from this image, this, and try to detect two kinds of patterns. The pattern here that we have several times. This is what we see here on the first result. Okay, both vertically and horizontally. And the other pattern here, which is the ones that are detected here. Okay, so basically these are the two pattern finder tools that we are going to use to detect two kinds of patterns in the same image. Okay, so this is the result. I can close the views for the moment. And what we have here is a graph that is a little bit small to work with. So I'm going to zoom a little bit. I can use the zoom buttons here, but I can use the fit buttons. This first button fits the whole graph in the view, which is a little bit small here, but I can use the second one, which will fit the width of the graph in the available space. And this is convenient because now I can just scroll with the mouse wheel to display parts of the graph. So we start from this image. We are going to crop it a little bit to focus on the useful part. And we will use a fine model to look in this image, to look for this pattern here. So this is the pattern we want to find. And as we could see, we can find the various patterns, both horizontally and vertically, by setting the right parameters here. At the bottom, we have a more complex situation because we want to detect this pattern, but we want to exclude the label that is inside. So basically, this is the pattern we want, but we want to exclude the label here, the U8 label. And for this, we are going to use a region, and we are going to use two rectangles, the large one and the small one, and exclude the small one from the large one with a subtraction operation. So basically, the pattern finder here will look in the same ROI, the same source image, and will look for this pattern, but excluding the label inside. And boom, this is the result. We have the various patterns that are properly detected, and we can see that the label inside is ignored. Okay? So what we can do now is have a look at the code that is generated from this. Here we are. This is the generated code. We can see that we start from the image, and we have two additional images for the different patterns to find. We have the ROI tool here with the adequate the ROI here, and you can see that if I move the ROI, the tool is updated automatically. The values are updated automatically. Here I told you that we use a region that is made of two rectangles with a subtraction operation. This is what we can see here. The two rectangles are created here, and the subtraction operation here creates the region that is called subtraction. Okay, we have the first pattern finder here on top of the list here, but we will focus on the second one here, the find model, and we can see that the learn input will use the image we loaded previously and the subtraction region we have just built here. We can set the various parameters here, for example, set max instances. We can see that in the tool, max instances is here, and if I want to, I can update the value. And you can see in the code, as soon as I update the value, the value is updated in the code at the very same time. Okay. All the various parameters are set in here, and we have, as an output, we have a vector of font patterns here. This is vector. But we don't want a vector. We want a single output, and we can see that from this vector we extract one of them. One of the font pattern is extracted, but we can even update this value by selecting the tool. We can see that the index of the font pattern is updated. that's it. That's it for this demo.
Okay, thank you, Yannick. So we have just seen a more complex example of a sequence that can be developed with Studio. And very importantly, we have learned more about the source code which is generated by Studio. So I have a few questions for you, Christophe, at this point. Can we save the generated code? I'm sure you will reply yes, of course. But the question is more like, is the code functional and complete, or how can I actually use, or how can I actually run the code?
Yes, that's a good question, because that's a nice feature of the new Studio. Yes, the code is functional and complete. So it means it fully implements the current processing pipeline and all the configuration of the tools. So you can copy paste that code in your project, in your favorite IDE, compile it, and you will get exactly the same result as in Studio. But of course, to run code independently of eVision Studio, you will need a license, eVision license, to run the program.
Okay, then can I edit the generated code within Studio, inside the Studio application?
No, it's just a one-way code generation. So it represents the processing pipeline and the tools, but you cannot edit it.
Okay, another question. Coming back to the graph, can we move the tools on the graph to arrange them the way we want, for example?
No, we decide to let the arrangement automatic. So that's mean Studio tries to minimize the number of links crossing and try to display the most comprehensive organization for the processing pipeline. So you cannot move it by hand.
Okay, that's clear. And now, last but not least, so far, as you have seen, we have processed images coming from the files on the disk. But of course, in real applications, images will probably come from a camera. And that's something that we also would like to test. So how does live image acquisition work in the new eVision Studio? Let's discover that new feature.
In this demo, we are going to see how it is possible to use the processing tools of eVision on a live image acquisition. And we will see how we can use our two applications, eGrabber Studio and the new eVision Studio applications, to work together to achieve this. So let's get started. In order to start a live acquisition with eGrabber Studio, I will simply create a tool on the acquisition library, and I will create a tool, eGrabber Studio. As soon as I create this tool, the eGrabber Studio application will start. So let's see it. Here, boom, the application starts. And it will detect the eVision camera I have on my setup here, and I just need to open it. You can see here that the application says that we have a link that is connected. It means that the eGrabber Studio works with the new eVision Studio application now. So I can start the acquisition here, there, and we have an image here from our camera. As you can see, the new eVision Studio application disappeared, but I can always go back using the little shortcut here, this way. So we are back to the new eVision Studio. I can click Start to get the video stream here, and here we are. And from there, it's exactly like in the other demos. I can simply create the tools I need, for example, to read the QR codes here. I can create a QR code reader tool here. And if I don't want to read QR codes on the whole image, I will simply add an ROI tool. Okay? And now all I have to do is take the output of my live acquisition, put it in my ROI, there, and my ROI, put it as an input to my QR code reader. and here it is. But even though it works, because our libraries are powerful, the image is not very clear. So what I want to show you is that it is always possible to go back to eGrabber Studio from new eVision Studio simply by using this little shortcut here. If I click, I go back to eGrabber Studio. Okay. But what I want to show you is that our two applications are closely connected to one another. So here on eGrabber Studio, I would like to change the exposure because the image is a little bit dark. So I will search for the exposure field, set it to 10,000 here. And as soon as I change it, it updates in eGrabber Studio, of course, but also the image is sent to the new eVision Studio application. Oops. Here. And now we have a sequence that is properly exposed, and I can continue my setup. So I will put the ROI on half of the image here, there, and the QR code, I'm going to increase the number of QR codes, activate compute grading, and activate a few more options to view the QR codes a bit better here. I can display information about the detected QR code here, there, and if it goes a little bit too fast, it's always possible to stop the acquisition here, and we can navigate through the detected QR codes and read the information about them. Okay, and of course, I can always restart the acquisition and continue the acquisition. Okay, so here it is for this demo about the live acquisition, live image acquisition in the new eVision Studio. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you, Yannick. So there is a connection between our eGrabber Studio application and the new eVision Studio. And all image sources available in eGrabber Studio can be used by eVision Studio. So this includes eVision cameras, like in our example here, but also CoaXPress cameras connected to a CoaXLink trend grabber and good old CameraLink cameras connected to our GrabLink Duo card. So I have a question for you, Christophe. eGrabber Recorder is a tool which is also available within the eGrabber software environment. Can we use eVision Studio to process images or sequence of images recorded by eGrabber Recorder?
Yes, it's possible through the PlayLink feature of the eGrabber Studio. So PlayLink is a tool that allows to replay a recorded container, like if it's a live camera. So using that feature, you can flow the image from a recorder container to eVision Studio.
So now we have a few practical questions. Do we have to buy a license to use GigiLink? So GigiLink is the link to the eVision camera. Do we have to buy a license to use a GigiLink with the new studio, inside Studio?
No, like any other eVision tools in Studio, you don't need a license to use a GigiLink. That's something we really would like to offer here. It's a way for you to experiment easily all this feature. So you can use GigiLink and PlayLink and all eVision tools directly after installing the Studio application.
Okay, that's all good, but how can I actually get the new eVision Studio?
So yes, the new eVision Studio, the preview is included in eVision 24.10. So it's the latest release of eVision. You can find it on the download area. It's a preview, so that means it has a limited set of tools, but we'll of course add more in the future.
Yeah, so talking about it, what is planned for the near future?
Yeah. So we will frequently update the new studio to add more tools until we put all library of Open eVision as tools and sample in the new studio. So that's really the target, to put everything 3D, deep learning, and all the conventional image processing tools in the new studio in the coming months.
So will the old studio be removed from the Open eVision distribution?
At some point, yes, but during the transition, no. So for probably the next release of Open eVision, both studio will stay in the distribution, so the old one and the new one.
Okay, so I understand. We have another question about the use of the Grabling full count. So does eGrabber Studio support Grabling full?
Yes, I think so.
Do you think so?
Yeah. I mean the Grabber Studio. I don't know actually. I'm the vision.
Okay, so what I will say is that eGrabber Studio does not support the Grabling full, because Grabling full is with multicam, and eGrabber Studio only support the counts supported by eGrabber, which are the coax link counts and the Grabling Duo. So if you have got a camera link count, then you have to connect it to the new Grabling Duo that can be used instead of the Grabling full. But of course, if you have got images acquired by the Grabling full that you can save to a file, then they can be processed by Studio, but only when going through a file.
Okay, that's right.
I hope I didn't answer wrongly, but this is really my understanding here. I have to check if we have more questions at this stage already. So if you have, we have reached the end of the demonstrations. We have a couple of other things to talk about, but if you have questions, that's really the time now to type them. I think I'm going through the list. I think that we have gone through all the questions. Yeah, so that's all the Q&A. Confirm, Christophe, you don't see any other questions?
No.
So I will continue with a summary of what we have seen today. So we have introduced the new Open eVision Studio, which allows to define processing sequences using graph of tools. There's a tool catalog which exposes the available Open eVision tools. There's a sample catalog which contains projects with sample sources. We have talked about the code generation. We have seen, and actually, I think the example was in C++ or C#, and the code generated matches the graphical project. And then in the next release, or one of the coming releases, we will also be able to generate code in Python, which is more and more popular. We have seen the connection to cameras using the eGrabber Studio application, and we had an example of benchmarking, which is a measurement of the real execution time of functions and sequences of functions within Studio. So once again, Open eVision Studio is free. There's no license required, exactly like the old Open eVision Studio, and you can use all Open eVision libraries and GigiLink within Studio without having any license. So the goal is really that you can download Studio and run it right after installation. Open eVision Studio is compatible with Windows and Linux, Intel and ARM 64-bit architectures, and it's included in the Open eVision installation package that you can find on our website. Keep in mind that the current version is a preview with a limited set of tools, but more tools and features will be added in the forthcoming releases of Open eVision. So it is part of Open eVision 2410. That's not the only new thing available in Open eVision 2410. So you can check the release notes for all the details. I will single out two other improvements in this release here. So there is a new class which is able to perform the leveling of easy maps in easy 3D. So leveling means that we can acquire images of objects, 3D point cloud of objects, and make them flat if they are not flat in the image. Easy Image also now offers a new HDR, high dynamic range image fusion function. A few announcements to end this presentation. A lot of things are taking place next week. We will be part of the eVision Days webinars. There's a presentation in the camera and optics segment, a presentation about eVision 3.0 and the path to 100 gigabit per second data rate. That's a presentation from Matthias. Then there's another presentation by Jean-Marie about deep learning and our modular deep learning libraries used in embedded solutions, also part of the eVision Days. Antonio in China will conduct a webinar about high-speed image acquisition and processing used in semiconductor inspection. That's part of the Vision System Design China's webinar series also next week. This one is in China and in Chinese. And then we also have a booth at the ITE show in Yokohama next week from Wednesday to Friday. You can find us in Hall D, booth number 20. At the beginning of next year, our first show of next year will be at the end of January. So we will have a booth number 134 at the Photonics West show in San Francisco. A lot of interesting events. Don't forget to follow us on social media. We always appreciate your support. Thank you very much for your time today. Have a nice day all, and thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.